Okay. Hey everyone, this is Misery Loves Company, a weekly social reading series hosted by miserytourism.com, featuring outsider and transgressive authors. This is fucking it. This is our last Misery Loves Company of the year, and our last one before Christmas, because we won't be doing one. We won't be doing one next week because it's Christmas Day, and I assume people want to spend time with their friends and family, or barring that, want to get blackout drunk and don't want to read their shit, probably. Um, and then after that, our next one will be on New Year's Day. So, holy shit. Anyway, we've got 3 people signed up to read today. Jesse, you said you wanted to go first, so I will. Actually, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Cool. So I'll give you the floor then.
Awesome. Thank you, William, for having me. Thank you all for, I'm normally pretty nervous. I'm actually a little nervous, a little bit uncomfortable. Like that's usually like my default setting. My roommate actually was trying to give me a massage more recently when they asked me if I ever had a massage before. And I was just like, no. And they were just like, yeah, I could tell. You have so much tension, so many knots that I don't think you could ever have a massage. Even if you wanted one. I think if anyone were to ever give you a massage, you would probably cry and shit your pants. So, yeah, anyway, I don't have a lot of time and I have a lot to say, but if everything goes well, I will not get through all of it. So I'm gonna start with an impression. I hate the way people are. That's my impression of a misanthropic emo pirate. You guys remember okay, so like football season's almost over. You guys remember practicing your moves, for like pickup football, basketball, soccer, maybe, to get around people, like shook and jive, left, right, whatever. Well, growing up as a 5th string fullback, my whole thing had always been about practicing my being taken down in the backfield. Yeah, growing up, I knew athletics didn't run in my family. By the first game of catch I ever played against my uncle, trying out for soccer, I thought you were supposed to kick the ball at your opponent. My favorite part of tetherball was probably the pole. Somebody asked me if I'd ever seen basketball before. And I was like, you mean like watch people play? And they were just like, no. The movie. Yeah, I have a lot of like weird interactions with people. I was with a friend and I was like, I never understood the need for Wi-Fi. Like I never understood, like I've never needed it. And my friend was just like, so what then, do you just like use your data? And I was just like, see, like I don't even know what that means. And they were just like, well, then that's probably why you don't understand the need for it. I borrowed categories from my roommates to play with them, but we didn't play. And so I was just like, I'm just gonna lie and say that we did. And she was just like, what? Why? Who are you gonna say won? And I was just like, me. And they were just like, oh, well, then they're gonna know that you're lying. We were swapping dreams, and I was telling them about one I had where, I was living in New York with like a bunch of like former high school, classmates that I don't talk to anymore. But like we were all at this like Mad Max, like Fury Road-esque like kind of place where there was just like a bunch of free games and beer. And they were just like, oh, so was this just like a bro dream? And I was just like, yeah, I guess. What if all my dreams were that way? And they were just like, I would probably recommend that you keep most of those to yourself. I was on the train, and this guy was applying something to his face, and I was just like, what's that? And he was like, chapstick, but I use it as lotion. And I was just in my head like, can I try some? You know how there's like people that are against climate change, and people that like deny it. Well, I more recently met someone that was actually for it. Yeah, they want to see it happen. They just think it's high time, and they just want to see how we fare. And I just like thought that was like really brave. So this PC culture, man, it's like it's really ruining everything. Like you can't even say that you're fired up anymore since the wildfires. Like you can't say things are heating up. You can't say things are lit. Like the flames emoji is just like canceled, and like I'm not into cancel culture. Like the only thing I ever cancel actually are like my membership to like Planet Fitness or pending friend requests. I was with a friend watching their son when they were just like, you know what, babies, if you think about it, are a lot like drunk people. And I was just like, you can't say that. And they were just like, why not? And I was just like, because then you're going after drunk people. I recently decided to stop hanging out with people that have brothers. Or like befriending them. I just think, it's like really, it's just too mask. I think too much toxic masculinity rubs off. So you know what, this was like really hard for me to break to my younger sister. Cause we've always been close. And so like I just like hope they're doing okay. And that like they have a good Christmas or whatever. And I hope you guys all do too. Thanks, William. Bye.
Oh my God, Jesse, that was fantastic. Thank you so much. I completely lost my shit about that. The pending friend request line was my favorite, by the way. Just fucking hilarious. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, I'm going to move on to the next person because I'm having trouble regaining my composure here. Josh, you're up next. Josh Sherman.
Sure. Yeah, I guess there are two Joshes here. No, that was, just I wasn't expecting it, which is good.
We need more of that. I mean, I'm tired of it just being like people like reading their like poetry.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Josh Sherman's here again. He's gonna read about cocaine again. Oh, that's interesting.
No, I love the idea. Like stand up and performance art shit. We need more of that. We really do.
I think that there is like a separation between like there's like whole alt comedy thing going on that hasn't intersected with like the literature, and it should, because I think like so many well delivered poems and short stories follow the same structure as like a stand up routine. Not saying that what Jesse was doing was necessarily stand up, because I wouldn't want to degrade it, but yeah.
Well, it just intersected right here, right now, motherfucker. The
Yeah.
point of intersection is here.
I'm writing history, and we were all witnesses. So I'm just gonna read
Yeah.
some COVID, which I find it so tacky to write about COVID just for myself, but I did because I don't know. Well, because I wanted to get into Zach Smith's. He did a Quaranzine, a couple of editions of the Quaranzine. Tao Lin was in the first one, and I was like, oh, maybe I can be in the second one with Tao Lin, but Tao Lin wasn't in the second one because we're mortal enemies apparently now. But so just some COVID poems. The first one, a prediction. 2020's most popular baby name will be COVID. Chess pervert. Playing online chess against a user named Theranos is real, and between every move I type something like, oh yes, that feels so good. I guess that's some like Queen's Gambit related content. And then, sorry, I have like a lot of different tabs open. The next one is called Red Zone. Sorry. Oh yeah. Sorry, it got out of control because I lost my manuscript, but I'll find it. Sorry. Yeah, Red Zone. I've reached the getting turned on by tampon commercials at my mom's stage of the pandemic. And then the last one is the one that was actually in the Quaranzine. It's called Corn Pops. Poured some Corn Pops. Poured some Timbit cereal into a bowl for breakfast this morning, and I was reminded of Corn Pops. They look like Corn Pops, but with sprinkles, and kind of taste like them too. But I'd never be eating Corn Pops, not even under quarantine, not even if the COVID-19 pandemic destroyed food supply chains and they were all I had left in an otherwise bare cupboard. Know why? One time when I was like 12, I was pouring a bowl of Corn Pops, and out with the cereal came an earwig. Not only did I throw the bowl full out, I have never eaten that cereal again. And for years, every time I pour cereal, I've poured it slowly to survey the scene for earwigs. And then I rake the bowl with my fingers to make sure I haven't missed anything. And that was just a cereal experience 2 decades ago. Now, imagine the impact of my past relationships, childhood trauma, and that thing that person said to me one time. And that's, it was just a bunch of smallies, so that's it.
That was great, Josh. I have to ask you, is Timbits a Canadian exclusive sort of?
It's the three weeks straight of Canadiana.
Is that Tim Hortons? Is it like a Tim Hortons branded cereal?
Just wait 1 sec. My apartment's very small. I
thought I was feeling goofy, looking dumb. I can stop playing.
Where'd it go? Jesus. I think I actually. Anyway, it's not that important, but I did have a box of them at one point, and yes, they're like it. Timbits.
You couldn't find your box of Timbits?
No, it's like Timbits. So they're like little round donut things.
I mean, I have no idea. I mean, they must be recent enough that I never saw commercials for.
No, it's iconic. This is iconic.
Really? This is like iconic Canadiana, or what?
Yeah,
what's the
Canadian
Canadian?
That's right. That's exactly right. Anyways,
how did you not know about Timbits?
You know about Timbits? What the fuck?
Of course I know about Timbits.
Because Will, you
commercials.
get into like you were tuning into Canadian political television at like age 6, and you don't know about Tim. It's just shocking.
Yeah, no, I was a real fucking nerd. What can I say?
Anyways, just I'm gonna mute myself now and just.
Thank you, Josh. Sorry if it seemed like I was giving you a hard time. No, those as usual. Like, I really do appreciate the way that your poem is like really carefully balanced on the the shitty details of mundane life and the way it's like this close to being absolutely hilarious and this close to being profoundly sad. And it's a really delicate balance there. And as usual, I really appreciate that. Thank you for reading, Josh. I'm sorry if it seemed like I was pulling your leg more than usual.
No, not at all. Thanks for having me again.
Anyway, Derek, you're up next.
Okay, can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, you sound great.
Awesome. All right. So this is going to be published on Expat on Sunday, and this is called A Surface Lie Flat. I drive alone at night. The cursor blinks in rhythm with the throbbing inside my head every second I stare at this white space. My urge is to fill this blankness with thought, to release thought. My urge is deviant. I have nothing of any particular momentum to give. My urge is selfish. The juice of your acceptance I'll drink. The marrow of your adoration I'll suck dry. My urge is sexual. Above all, my urge is practical. How long could a floating thought head sustain itself, that is, not injure or erase itself, with its contents crammed in and more arriving every second, claustrophobic and frightened? It demands release. Release demands a surface. You are the surface. Acknowledge my release. I am a hoarder of terrible feelings. I drive alone at night. I follow the vehicle in front of me very closely, too close. I tap the bumper I'm following so close. I do all of this and flash high beams, honk, give the finger, yell fuck you with windows down at stoplights. I only want you to get out of your vehicle and pull me out of mine and kick my ass. I want to feel your knuckles scrape my skin. I want to smell you on top of me. I want my sticky blood to mat to you, to us. Call me all of the names. I have not felt anything in years. Call them decades. Make me feel it. Show me what you'll do to the ruffians causing trouble in these streets, upsetting the arrangements. Fucking hit me like you mean it. I drive alone at night. I am not looking for my father down these unlit country roads. They won't tell you this. No one will tell you this. I'm going to tell you this. Years and years later, you will miss the physical pain he bestowed on you. It was a gift, his rage. You were his surface. Acknowledge his release, cry. Acknowledge his release, stutter. Acknowledge his release, beg. Beg for him to come crashing through the house once more, see his silhouette through the screen door at night, lit up by the porch light and its army of necessitous moths, and brace yourself for the love he meets. When this material present folds itself into memory, you will drive recklessly at night in the hopes of getting your ass kicked because you miss your father. I drive alone at night. The very first time I disassociated, I was driving alone at night. I was 16. I tell this story in all of my stories. It's the only story I know. And the very first time I disassociated, I was driving alone at night and I felt something. You looked so beautiful, sitting cross-legged on the floor next to our mattress, gently packing up your books, those sacred bits of literature we would read each other aloud. And here you are in my divination, packing up those books once again as you prepare to move to another apartment in your late 30s. I only hit you once. But it was the very first time I disassociated. I was driving alone at night when I felt close to understanding something valuable, something critical, something I would need on this journey. I tasted it, morning dew. I tasted it, crisp, brittle air. I tasted it on my lips and in my bones, and it tasted like the rough wind slapping my cheeks, ruddy and raw. I didn't taste it at all. I almost tasted it, which is why I lift all of my descriptions from poets and maniacs. I drive alone at night. I am bounding towards something. I am not a runaway. I drive alone at night. I want to taste it for real. I want to disassociate again and my body go numb again all over, God bless. And the sounds of just incessant ringing, tinnitus, the doctor said. The doctor said you must be suffering from tinnitus, and feed myself so close to the edge that I will and I must understand what the night was trying to tell me when I was 16. I was about to become a new self. I was almost there. I got scared. I am older now. I am no longer afraid. Please show me. Please take me there. I will be whatever I need to be. I will be whatever you need to be. I will be whatever you desire. I will be whatever I need to be. If I fill the empty space with thought pains, and you, a surface, lie flat to receive them, my loneliness will subside. I will feel connected to your loneliness. Our loneliness will go out for ice cream and giggle at each other's jokes, jokes which are sad things told whilst winking. I drive alone at night to feel something lost, which I know you are hiding from me to keep me in pain, to keep me embedded to you, to keep me wanting, to keep me desirous, to keep me illustrious, to keep me. Be it the fists of my father, the promise of a new eternal self, the picture of you sobbing, cross-legged, clutching our shared literature. I will cross any boundary, may it be filled with spikes, hot coals, shame to reach you. I drive alone at night and listen to New Order and miss things, but not the things you'd imagine. When the barren pages filled, black text on white surface, a texture of love and grace, my mind is at rest, and I release you.
Holy fucking shit. That was legitimately amazing. This is going to sound like a strange question, but or I guess probably wouldn't sound like a strange question really. But are you planning to put your short pieces together in any kind of a collection or something? Because it occurs to me that a lot of these pieces are very like complementary in tone and style, and it'd be great to see like all of your unreliable narrators kind of together under one roof, if that makes any sense. And it would also be great to listen to you read an audio book of that book.
No, I throw them away immediately. So what I do is I write them, I read them here, and then, no, I'm just kidding. No, I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love to. And there's obviously a voice that I like to do that follows an unreliable narrator through age. So yes, they are thematically connected in 2 or 3 of the like events you kind of hear about over and over, like in that one referencing the driving or whatever. So yeah, and then I like to read them and try to get them published and write them totally out of order.
Yeah,
But thank you. Thank you.
I would love to see them all collected in one place. I really would, because I think they need to be, you know. So that's it for our scheduled readers. So I guess it's open mic time. Normally I have Rudy watch the chat and see if anyone wants to participate in the open mic. But I think Rudy is having technical difficulties or something. He sent me a Skype message. I think he's working on getting in here. So is there anyone who would, oh, I've got multiple. I'm looking at the chat now. I think Sam is first up, and then Michael. Does that sound right? Sounds right. Okay. Sam, it's all yours.
Okay, this is like it's kind of explainy, but I'm trying to start a book, so this would be an opening chapter. Men Without Properties. Before sitting down to write this, I passed one of my neighbors in the hallway. She is an elderly, overweight blonde woman who regularly refers to me as the asshole, and who portrays me as some kind of villain to our neighbors. This is because one morning when I was leaving for work, I refused to help her move her belongings up 3 flights of stairs. I had helped her previously. Today, she said nothing to me or at me, although I heard a slight growl. She was walking with a limp, and her face was half drooping. Signs of a stroke, I thought. She ascended the stairs at an almost snail's pace. However, snails only move forward consistently, whereas she walked up 3 steps, sat down in exhaustion, and stepped down a single step when she steadied herself to stand up. So she did have a stroke. I win. I moved to HL Apartments in August of 2017. The building is located in the historic district of Indianapolis on the east side, and was and is in the process of restoration. Building restoration is an impressive feat in a historic district. Historical societies are notoriously tight-assed and require extreme pull to do anything as basic as upgrading of landmark buildings' plumbing to contemporary standards. The building still looks old, but is by no means a real historic landmark. The best visual description I can offer is that it's in some sort of pseudo-style between early 1900s American craftsmen and the architectural dark age of the 70s, with nothing in between. Maybe a missing link between the two, but lately forgotten. The building is noticeably square. The outside is light sepia-toned brick with occasional flourishes. Limestone molding surrounds the entrance, with a mansard-style window just above, and a gridded mishmash of either XX casement or double-hung windows, depending on the state of that unit's restoration, mark the building's face. There are various miscellaneous flourishes that the designers seem to add at random, like limestone columns that aren't really holding anything up. I doubt the building had a coherent identity in its own time, but now it comes across as schizophrenic. The actual feel of the building is difficult to describe with sense precision, but on the street it completely stands out. To the left is a bike shop in the historic district proper, with the previously mentioned American Craftsman homes and a Catholic, Baptist, and extremely large Methodist church. Wikipedia calls this district family-friendly. A village populated by professors, doctors, teachers, and the aforementioned historical society. To the immediate right is, in appearance, a half-assed renovated income-controlled apartment complex, dirt red bricks, storm windows with AC units sticking out like moles, and 4 more pro-laden blocks that have yet to be blessed with gentrification. Drive over America is a subcategory of flyover America. Regardless, I have stainless steel appliances, hardwood floors, and the village neighborhood just out the door due west, all at a rent that sits comfortably within my salary as an unnamed research assistant at an unnamed CRO. The building is the border between these two economies, expressing it with its incoherent facade. I work adjacent to pharma for a CRO or a contract research organization. I say it is adjacent to pharma because the company I work for has no designs toward bringing some internally designed medical treatment to the marketplace. Sometimes I feel like pharma and pharma-adjacent companies are evil. Anytime I have this feeling, I browse the job opportunities pages of various American intelligence agencies. Here is the description for targeting analysis for Redacted. As a targeting analyst for Redacted, you will work on teams that bring analysis operations together to maximize the impact of agency and intelligence community resources against key figures and organizations who pose a threat to US interests. You will use unique data sets, specialized tools, and network analysis techniques to identify and analyze key threats to the redacted, identify opportunities to disrupt them, and evaluate risks and benefits of proposed operations. This gives me a wave of tectonic relief. Actual pharmaceutical companies, ones that design drugs like Bayer, Pfizer, Gilead, etc., are required to outsource certain tasks and testing to contractor organizations like mine, sometimes under federal law. Ideally, this provides an additional check in the expensive, easily corruptible, multiple decades long process that eventually only sometimes ends with a drug being brought to market. Imagine if Bayer performed all of its own clinical trials in-house and a high-level figure within the company, such as CEO, had access to all the protocol data that was available to him, and he was able to lie about the results under pressure from the board of directors, or encourage internal scientists to lie about those results for monetary gain. This is where a CRO comes in. Our contracts are specifically worded that we behave almost autistically in regards to trial results. Interference could result in large fines and lawsuits from us. The obvious rub you might counter is that my organization would be encouraged to skew results in favor of our clients to foster a beneficial business relationship. That is true, but like most federal laws, in particular laws that enable CROs to exist in the first place, The point of the law is not to erase all possibility of corruption as much as it is to make that type of corruption far too difficult or too much of a fucking hassle to be profitable for either party. The main enforcer of this annoyance aspects are auditor organizations like CAP and the International, didn't write that acronym. These agencies form a sort of inconsistent triad conceptually in which any possible cooperation between two is negated by the third. All this cooperation, this well-structured and metaphysically rigorous, even Thomistic system, and the hundreds of millennia and billions spent on the collective education of its employees and functionaries so that we might develop drugs to cure HIV, COVID, and the slackened jaw and slouched gait of that mean old bitch that lives 3 floors above me.
I love that final movement there. That last sentence is a killer. No, I really like the way that you just immerse the reader or the listener in this bureaucracy, right? All the nitty gritty fine details of this thing until they're just totally overwhelmed by it. Can you this is a work in progress novel, you said, right?
That's all. I mean, I have other stuff written I might incorporate into it and some
Yeah.
outlines I'm working on.
I was gonna say it obviously works as a story. I really liked it, but I was just thinking novel the whole time I heard it, because it would give you a lot more room to play around with that kind of expository stuff about the bureaucracy and whatnot. Yeah, I just thought but it really worked on its own. But yeah, I thought book.
Cool.
Yeah. Do you have some sense of what you're thinking of expanding it out into, what the larger contours of this bigger work might be, or
Thinking you're gonna find out that he works in animal testing, but it's also sort of a futuristic America, and the idea is it's what's that book by Upton Sinclair, The Jungle? You know how he says I aimed for America's heart but hit him in the stomach?
right.
Sort of that for but animal rights groups invaded got documentation of this lab, and so instead of stopping animal testing, now the scientists have to take home one of the animals and then euthanize it. That was the compromise. They have to name it and everything.
Oh God. Yeah.
So
I'd like
it'd be
to
hard to do that without getting too ridiculous, I think. So
But I think something like this, I like that kind of satire that really immerses itself in the details of what it's satirizing, that comes perilously close to reality in a way by just showing the absurdity of real granular details of life. You should definitely stick with that, and you should share some more later. I think there's a few of us here who are trying to produce larger works, and I think 2021 we have to start holding each other accountable a little bit. Okay, Michael is next, I think.
Yeah, I think I'll read this. This was something I put on my Substack, I guess a week and a half ago now.
Cool.
This was another pandemic nightmare thing that I experienced and tried to turn into a piece of writing. So
Awesome.
see.
I'll throw this up on Twitter then.
All right.
Okay,
It's called-
cool. Just wanted to make sure it was okay to throw the link.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay.
So it's called The Other Side. You feel a champagne glass placed in your left hand. You are very aware that you have a left hand. Someone begins to remove the octopus of wires from your skin. The death of suction as each sensor is plucked roots you to the earth, and you're thankful, damn thankful. Bloody good show, a voice tells you. An open palm strikes your naked back like a club and you recoil. Sensors clatter like dice on the floor as you shudder them off. The octopus writhes. Easy, easy, someone tells you. Another voice, ashen tone. Have a seat and tell us everything. They take away the champagne. A voice explains, but not to you, that it's too early. He shouldn't be drinking. We need to do more tests. Just ask him what he saw, comes the reply. You listen to their words like you're trying to decipher if a sound at midnight is an innocent bang, a cat's plaything, or an intruder who wants you dead. No, no, stop. Just ask the damn man. Tell us what you saw. More fingers on you now, like centipedes chasing mites. You're almost convinced you're you. Almost, almost. But you wonder whether you're the you who traveled and if it's you who returned. Skin that itches like a stolen cloak. Feet like two big jackboots unsteady as the iron floor quakes. Truth as loose as a broken jaw. The great machine, the one that sent you beyond, is still awake. Where the hell is the nearest window? I need to see the sun, you think. Stop rushing him. Give him the bloody champagne or some of the hard stuff. He earned it. There's an idea. You're thirsty, rock-scorched. Enough. Tell us about the afterlife. Hold on, you think. I volunteered for this, endured an injection that stung like an ice age. No. No. I invented this machine. It's my project. There's a photo of Nadia in an office down the hall. My wife. My dead wife. Did I find her? In the afterlife, there was a woman in a forest with a face of eyes, eyes both strange and long known, trees that smelled like formaldehyde, air the taste of blood from a torn open tongue. But I can't say this aloud. They'll praise me, bury me, send me back. It was a hell of a thing, you blurt out. Laughter bursts around you like shattering light bulbs. Why aren't we recording this? Someone calls out, and the voices scatter like they've torn open a bag of marbles in a fight for control. No one lifts you from the chair. You're alone again. Energy swells beneath the floor, imperfect, in a rhythmia of power. When the time comes, you think, don't confess anything. Not a damn thing. Don't tell them how the forest wailed, how the ash and pine cried out with lipless mouths. That the truth, so simple, wholly pure, is that you didn't come back. And that's it.
Wow, that was fantastic. I love like the way it builds anxiety and the fact that you don't know what the story is about until it's almost over, right? Which I, I guess is kind of fitting given the theme. And I really love all of the like deeply disconcerting like imagery surrounding the afterlife and how like simultaneously horrifying and incoherent it is, which I think which feels right, which feels right to the theme to have it not be something that you can really wrap your hands around, even if you go there and come back again, or don't, maybe in this case.
Yeah, it was one of those dreams where you're in the dream and you think it's real, and then but you're not sure if you're dead or alive, and then you're wondering, well, are you awake or are you asleep? And then you wake up and you go through the actual thought process. Well, am I awake? Am I dead? And then slowly
Right.
it comes to you. And yeah, I tried to write it down. So I'm glad you liked
Yeah.
it.
No, it's great. It's fantastic. Thank you so much for reading. Do we? I don't. I'm.
Well, I got. This is the Timbit cereal. I found it.
Oh, for a second I thought it was something else.
Oh yeah, I wish, but this is like I lost the box. That's why I couldn't see it. I was looking for the box.
Oh, okay.
Dude,
All
it's
right.
corn pops, but nice and sprinkly. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now I want to try it, but I doubt I can find it here.
Well, you know what? I want to meet up with Manny at some point, like when he's in New York. Once all this blows over, we should definitely find a way. Anyway.
Yeah, at some point we really should have like an actual honest to goodness like in-person meetup, because I haven't met anyone from like the whatever you want to call it, the outsider lit space, the quote unquote cyber writing space in person, aside from like people I already knew in person like Brandon and Rudy. And
yeah, I could totally do it. And I think I don't know about you, but I think New York's maybe a good, because I want to get back there anyways. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think New York is sort of kind of a middle ground for a lot of us, because I know a lot of us here are kind of in the mid-Atlantic or the upper South or whatever. Anyway, was there anyone else who wanted to read? I'm not really. I haven't done a great job of reading the chat. If anyone else has anything they want to read, just speak now. You can just interject in the call here. Let's see. Oh, Sam, you have another thing?
Yeah, it's not fully edited either, but
Yeah, hell.
I'm just going to be part of it. It was going to be a blog post, but I might use it for
Cool.
something else.
Cool, yeah, take it away.
So this is called A Small PAL Boxing Gym. PAL is stereotypically a boxing gym. Concrete floors, a ring built from 2x4s and carpeted plywood, a small Bluetooth stereo that clips at higher volumes, a smattering of old and new equipment, loose weights in one area, a used-up heavy bag and medicine ball to repeatedly slam on said heavy bag for conditioning purposes, pushed to a corner, and a 5-gallon plastic bucket set by the ring for catching leaks from the roof when it's not used for spitting blood. It is a space where training is compulsory, already lived and worn in. Setup is ergonomic. 15 to 20 people can train at a time without stepping on one another. There are multiple heavy, speed, and double-end bags and old treadmills. A collection of full-length mirrors are leaned up against the wall, next to the ring, to shadow box in front of, right next to a wire shelf full of loaner gloves. There are multiple fans and a single space heater that are used in accordance with the weather. A mesh bag of freshly laundered hand wraps is plopped on the carpet by the main desk, entangled like a forgotten pair of earbuds. Seasoned hand wraps to keep your hands pickled until the following Sunday. When I bring a friend, I loan them one of mine. It is famous for its youth program. Some of my old high school classmates became Golden and Silver Gloves boxers training there. It is an old gym. Black and white photos of previous trainees hang on the walls. Multiple plaques, posters, and trophies are displayed in the locker room and training space, dating back to the 1940s and 50s. It is funded entirely by donations. All coaches are unpaid volunteers or former fighters, a hidden pillar of community. This is a place people train. The space itself is worn in by people who simply want to win fights, because appearance is reliably and gleefully demolished by a well-placed liver shot. The main coach, who I'll call Seth, is about 4 years older than me. He is married with a wife and kids. He has trained fighters professionally and has competed in Golden Gloves as an adult with a full-time job and 2 kids. I think 3 now, but don't hold me against that if you read this, Seth. He will sometimes rib, heckle, and yell at newer trainees to induct them into the culture, but will only truly give someone shit if 1, they are actually training for a fight, and 2, are clearly half-assing it. On the day I first arrived, Seth was training a local heavyweight for his first professional fight, as well as my friend Matt, who was training for Golden Gloves. The rest of us sort of stumbled around them, staying clear out of their way on whatever equipment they were being trained on. They made focus mitts look natural and easy. I eventually took videos of myself training, and more clearly saw how wide the gulf was between myself and someone like Matt, or Seth, Dylan, Trayvon, or Eric, etc. Like seeing a secondhand photo or listening to a recording of yourself practicing an instrument or simply speaking. Your faults are immediate when you are the observer. And that's it.
That was excellent as usual, Sam. I don't know. You just have like such a knack for capturing detail. I don't know how else to say it. I know that's like a pretty amorphous thing to say, but you have a real knack for like capturing the mundane details of life in a way that's like hypnotic, really, and feels honest and real. Who is there? Anyone else here who wants to read? We're still early in the night here. And, oh, it's Bibles.
Oh, 1, 2, 3.
Does your toddler want to read? We're looking for someone to read.
Follow you. Okay.
I said I wanted some performance art.
Follow you. Follow you. 1, 2, 3.
Now walk with me.
Oh, walk with you.
You're going to walk.
I know, but you need to eat your dinner.
But
You gotta eat it if you want your dessert. Come get a bite, and then you can dance. I know, you could come have another bite before you start dancing, okay?
I'm gonna just let this happen for as long as it happens.
Mm.
Mama, say yes, Mary Poppins.
Say yes, Mary Poppins.
Yes, Mama.
Oh.
Mama, say now please, Mary Poppins. We'll say now please, Mary Poppins.
Now freeze, Mary Poppins. Ah. Are funny, Mary Poppins. You are funny, Mary Poppins, aren't you? What? What do you see? What do you see?
Merry Christmas, Bibles. Okay. I'm gonna let this go, but does anyone else want to read? Last reading of the year. I see Rudy just came in.
Yum.
Hey, so are you like Beetlejuice, but you have to say Mary Poppins 3 times? Is that how?
I mean, yeah, pretty much.
Let's see. Yeah, it's fair. It's Michael in the chat says, "How do you follow that?" And really, I don't know that you can, but I will. We're pretty early in the night here, so I will give people a couple more minutes here if anyone wants to jump in and read. And if not, we can just end the reading portion of this early and move on to the unrecorded bullshit for an hour and a half portion early. So, oh, Michael, you have something else to read? Sure. Yeah. It's all yours.
Yeah, this was a poem I wrote at the end of last month. Originally, that other thing I read also had this title, and I was like, yeah, I'll have 2 pieces of writing that have the same title, and then I stopped doing that pretty quickly. This is what the other piece was originally called, because I wrote them both in the same night. But it's a poem called "You, the Necronaut." You ease shut the doors of the double body bag, or foreclosure of life. A thick white sheet divides the room like an argument, with a point and purpose lost in this months-long fever. A rasp reminds you that you're not alone. Before you didn't need to ask, the person trapped on the other side was wheeled out to a room with sun, free wind, green plants small as grandchildren. Now they must wait as you reap. The body bag feels like it's grown lighter. Perhaps, you wonder again, unbound by the weight of the soul. You struggle to remember their name, but you remember their face. They waved at you once, back when you could still do that, when visitors brought stories and sweets, before we misplaced our time lost to shrouds of alien plastic, silicone gloves discarded in pairs, the horror of disinfectant that scours and dries as badly as a broken promise. Outside the nursing home, you lower the dead into the rear of the truck, feather gentle, minding the folds of the dense bag as if you're trimming a sail in strong wind. You once saw purpose in this work, bearing so many through a weary and distracted world that above all craves immortality, so that the loving might touch these loved one last time. Yet after 9 months, your blood is calloused. You, soul bearer, you, clung to the gunwales of a water-burdened rowboat. You, haunted by horn squalls from the opposite shore. Why? Why?
Wow. That's such a great companion to the piece that you read earlier, too. I'm glad you chose to read both of them tonight because they go together so well. You know, they complement each other so well. And I actually think that's a really, really appropriate note to end 2020 on from Misery Loves Company. Just the most despairing, like deathly thing possible, like reflection on mortality. I think that makes a lot of sense as a final note for the year here.
I think Ryan wanted to get in.
Oh, actually, well, maybe not the final note because Ryan. No, Ryan, we've got plenty of time if you want to read.
Okay. I just wanted to know, like, is my audio setup good? Like,
Your audio is okay. You have
Yeah, you
no
sound good.
video right now,
okay.
but your audio is
I'm
fine.
gonna go for it.
Okay.
This is from I forget which issue of Brain Vomit it was. So this is called All I Think About Is Death.
Well, another appropriate one to end 2020 on. Fair enough. Okay, it's all yours, Ryan.
The patterns suddenly stopped coalescing, and he saw the pixelated doctor. The intent, he believed, was supposed to be charming, but all he could notice were the glasses, opaque white with the lack of detail. To him, this made the doctor simply another code. There's no soul there, he thought, and no love either. Hi, Jack, the doctor said cheerily. You've reached your bandwidth limit. This limit is placed in accordance with safety protocols designed to prevent overuse of the neuronet. Studies have shown that excessive neuronet use results in damage to the limbic system, resulting in an over-prioritization of emotional response. In order to stop your feelings from hurting you, you'll be blocked from the neuronet until the end of the month. Already he could feel it, like someone cutting off his breathing. You were used to it, took it for granted, until it was taken away from you. They're choking me, he thought angrily, and saying it's for my own good. He was already thinking, a cafe. In a cafe, he could access the neuronet by ordering an overpriced caffeine injection. He found his pair of ironic plastic shades. Become a code yourself, he thought. The truth was that they were usually necessary for the glaring light of the outside world. When he stepped out, though, it was clouded over. The neuronet lives in the clouds, he thought, and felt hopeful. He wasn't outside long, anyway. There were cafes everywhere. Secretly, he believed they were in on it. It was a scheme they and the health committee had figured out together. Cut them off, and the junkies would do whatever it took. But the need overcame whatever moral objections he had, and so when he entered the hotspot, he went straight for the line, which moved quickly. He ordered his shot and sat down with all the artists and writers. They are not for the neuronet, but to create something, some long-form print story or hyperscreen script. Even if they weren't ugly external tablets, you'd be able to tell by their bohemian affectations. They were clearly struck in some disconnected counterculture. Archaic architects, he thought, unable to contain his judgment. Their meaning was in stasis, but the neuronet was a million dimensions, and its evolution was accelerated at the speed of birth. The true creators lived up there, and breathed deep the oxygen of fragmented, lattice truth. He closed his eyes and accessed it. He saw the patterns, familiar, but they danced in new ways. This was a part of their familiarity. If they stood still, he wouldn't recognize them anymore. The memescape, he thought, the gene blur. He needed a serious mood boost. The shifting images tended to stimulate him in all the right ways. The sublingual meaning that the pixel doctor said was so dangerous seemed to bypass the cerebrum and interface with his soul. Text they had left behind long ago. That shit had been carvings and stone tablets, and he had been relieved when it was gone. Deep down, he had always known he needed something that was alive. But he felt it when the recontextualized vintage anime was morphing his nostalgia receptors. Morphing was expected, but this was wrong somehow. Instead of reworking the past, these images seemed to be trapping him there. Can we never grow? He asked himself, horrified. I don't want to be stuck here. He had never thought about disconnecting before, and it took several moments before the thought even registered. Then he wasn't sure how to do it. Shutting off meaning, he thought. Self-induced sensory deprivation. Who knew how to blind themselves in this age? Who even had the willpower for it? He left a sub-comment, a flash of semiotics work, targeting anyone whose humor centers were overdriven by this nostalgic pandering. You should feel bad for limiting yourself like this. Then he tried to focus on his attention filters. He always kept them fully permeable. He had never known anything else, so the interface felt awkward to him, but eventually he got it working. No anime, he told it explicitly. Not ever. But eventually he realized it was his whole mimosas process that was fucked. Nothing worked for him anymore. The short motion captures self-recorded by splice wolves on the hunt for disconnected sheep. The hallucination ASMRs. The revulsion children. Furry freaks, he thought. Stoner idiots. Gore perverts. He was growing out of it, leaving it behind. It was death, in a sense. Everyone saw it in their future. Everyone had to come to grips with it. The natural end result of evolving. Meaning was evolving past evolved meaning. You'd see it in the subcomics left by burnt-out veterans too apathetic to bother using emotional tags. Fucking losers. This shit is for literal children. Fucking get a fucking job and go outside. You laughed it off, but one day you knew it would happen to you. Neurodeath. Seeing it drove you further into it. Shrug it off. Go back to your memes. The only way to forget was to feed your addiction to the drug that was killing you. What was the afterlife like, he wondered. He had always wondered this, though he had tried to get away from it. The truth was that no one knew, because no one spoke from that other world. They'd say the light outside, I'm entering it now and leaving you, wretches on this side, and there would be nothing else from them. Pure silence. The only ghosts were what they left behind. No intercommunication there, only white noise. He was already feeling the decay when the transmission started. He had forgotten to core block them, and his tag traces were glaringly obvious. The denizens of the neuronet were sign masters. He had forgotten this, somehow, and would now pay the price. The trolls, the demons, the gargoyles. They had left their caves, and now his serotonin waves were being drained like water spiraling out of a bathtub. It was something else he had always known. Through the neuronet, you could do anything to anyone if you knew what you were doing. And if you didn't, you were vulnerable, exposed, naked. He was bleeding sweat. He was shivering. He could feel the frost in his bones and the ice shards under his skin. He was pseudo as fuck, looking down on culture art for aesthetic reasons. If you knew anything, you'd see that the very form he was mocking subverted the shallow principles, dissipated like smoke in a field. He knew this at his core, could not argue with it. He was as casual as the skirts girls were in the summer. Who could ever love someone so basic? His genes were toxic. He would never breed. Desperately, he struck back. He used the alt tag, the mark of someone who'd lost the plot. But he couldn't focus on individual voices. Each one seemed to lacerate him distinctly. Many knives, but ulcerated. His skin would be in tatters soon. What allows one to lay on a bed of nails, he thought, is the diffusion of pain. Isolate it, and it becomes unbearable. He cued it out, left it there to execute after he was out. His concepts were simple. There is more to life than art. Then he opened his eyes, and the feed cut abruptly. He looked at the shot. He had been clutching it the whole time. Without giving his brain a chance to register it, he drove it deep until he felt the energy in his cells. Java blood. He gave the artists around him a sweeping, withering stare and went outside. The sun was shining now, but he had his shades on, and the air was warm. Okay, that's it. Sorry, that was a clusterfuck. I hadn't read a lot of this for a while.
No, that was fantastic.
So long ago.
Do you have a link to that piece?
Yeah, it's in this random issue of Brain Vomit. I'll post it in the chat.
Yeah, that'd be great. Then I can tweet it out.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Sorry, I was trying to I knew it would be kind of a rough reading, so I'm sorry that it kind of was, but it was fun. Oh, sorry, I even sent it to the wrong person.
Yeah, I absolutely think it was appropriate. And I really appreciate that we're ending tonight with all these really morbid pieces. I don't know, given that Christmas is coming up and that we need a kind of antithesis to all of this holiday cheer. And also on the other hand, given this is the last one of 2020, and the way how relentlessly morbid and awful the year has been.
Well, I read it because I keep thinking about reading it because you keep like talking about how like you think about death a lot, and that always makes me remember that I wrote this story. Anyway.
Yeah, death
That's
is
all.
one of those topics I'm just totally obsessed with. Ryan, do you happen to? I'm sure could you put your Twitter handle in the chat so that I can tag you? I was just trying to find you,
Oh,
and for whatever
sure.
reason I couldn't.
For sure.
Cool.
William, it's also the last day of Hanukkah, so to be inclusive, that should be noted as well.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. It is. It is. And awesome. Thank you so much, Ryan. And I think Sam has yet another piece for us. Sam, you sent me a message.
I have two. I have one for the actually no, I just have one.
It better be
My
morbid
bad.
as fuck. That's all I'm saying.
This one's super. Yeah, it's pretty morbid.
Okay, awesome.
I wrote this when I was reading Ezra Pound, or when I first started reading him. Like, no one will ever hear our band. No one will ever say, "God damn, that's about the best fucking band I ever heard." Awash in beer, embedded in the herd, there is no time for such a word. The sunbeams in the park, reflected by our eye, are white, gold, and yellow. Frosted grass, shaking in the chill. Green grass, then orange, and black and burnt. Ashton Till. The teachers, the friends our mothers knew, we sneak by. I remember her jacket, leather, yellow. You mentioned her ass as she walked up the hill. Said nice. Through green grass, then orange and black and burnt, then whiskey from the still. Maybe stealing money from the till. And we go out and buy. Have you heard from Nate? Well, tell him hello. It's been a while since I've seen him, and might be a while more still. I've seen he's been back around, then back again, until. Just don't be a stranger, at least say goodbye. Last I saw you in the CB lounge, your fiance's dark hair and your dark eyes, mellow. Dreadlocked and gratefully dead, but still. We snuck one last hang and pointless conversation, but I think you decided you were done here. Until we meet again, the until was done. No one will ever hear our imaginary band. No one will ever say, "God damn, that's about the best fucking band I ever heard." There is nothing but time for such a word, but there is none left for doing it.
Damn. Goddamn. And
Yeah.
the hits keep coming tonight. And I feel like things are getting darker and darker here, so I'm almost scared to let someone else read.
You guys want to see the family I keep tied up in my closet?
Definitely.
Yeah, I second Rudy's vote for seeing the family.
Oh, hang on. Well, just
Is one of them named Dolly?
I mean, I named her that.
Didn't bother to find out what her parents had named her, right? All right. Okay. Last call here. Actual last call. If anyone wants to read, speak now, or you're reading in 2021.
Oh boy.
Yeah. No, I think we're done for the night. As usual, I'll leave the
Looks
the
like
Zoom meeting.
Alexandrian has volunteered as tribute here.
Oh shit. Okay, Alexandrine.
Nice.
Are you sure? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
100%.
Okay. I hope it's sad enough. So this is This is the novella that's coming out on the 1st. And also this is, I think some of you had asked about like the V stories. Well, this is the culmination of all of that. So this is the first chapter from the chapbook that's coming out soon. So
Oh man. So are you collecting the V stories together, or is this kind of a sequel to them, or?
basically a novella.
Uh-huh.
And so one of the things that I've read wound up, or at least one of the things I read wound up in it. So it's like, yeah, and it's a novella. So
Gotcha.
okay.
Sounds great. Take it away. I'm anxious to see where this is going.
This is the first chapter. So hot wind on the back of his neck from the F train heading into Brooklyn, which swept through behind him. Almost no one on the platform, and V just standing there, hanging one foot over the tracks for the one heading uptown, thinking about shifting his weight forward when the headlights came into view. Tilt, hit, over with, no more fears or frets. Easy, way too easy, and how did people ride these things every day and not take advantage of this convenient exit? People on the train late for work, overhead announcements that, ladies and gentlemen, we have temporarily stopped. Do you really want to leave reality with the last cogent thought in your head being that you made some poor fuck late for work and he lost his job and so would now have to come out to this self-same subway station and off himself in the exact same way, making another poor fuck late for work, placing you as a start point for an endless cycle of dead bodies all piecing out the same way? With the trains already running so much slower and less frequently and less reliably than they were supposed to, did you really want to be part of the problem with New York when it seemed to be the consensus that New York was seriously on the decline? Questions, an endless series of questions, most of them rhetorical, running through him. What's a decent price for beef noodle soup? Was he paying too much for rent? Was the subway really worth living in New York for? What's a decent price for Jim Beam? Why were so many people obsessed with dating? Was a lack of an elevator in his building a sign of proletarian bona fides? What's a decent price for Coke? Should he stop doing Coke? Should he kill himself? Had he ever been raped? Did he really enjoy attending readings? Did he really enjoy attending political podcast tapings? Should he try and attend an orgy? Why did he only want to fuck straight guys? What would happen if he jumped in front of a train? And the ever-present question of what the fuck he was doing in New York. First time had been as a small child, nothing to report, just noise, homeless people, pizza, night sky lights, buskers, 30 Rock Bridge and tunnel scum, crossing over with his parents from New Brunswick and not taking the train for some reason like the trash they were, nothing to report. Second time had been a couple years ago. He moved to Indiana a long time ago, long enough ago that he wasn't a local anymore, but not quite long enough that an accent didn't tinge his speech. Jersey trash, half Nigerian trash like a raccoon in a dumpster rooting around thinking itself king of shit hill. The king has returned. It was his birthright to live in the greatest city in the world where the conditions were so harsh that most could not survive unless you started there and had an inn with just about everything. Housing, food, education, neighborhood, connections, basically just everything, because this wasn't a way of life to anyone from this country who wasn't already from New York. Culture shock like nothing else, bearing down, ripping him apart. The last couple years have been deprogramming and reprogramming, starting from scratch, taking him back to raw materials and then trying to build him back better, and to no avail because he was the same piece of Jersey trash he'd started as. Lean forward a little bit more, feel the adrenaline. How many times had he played this game? He wasn't even drunk yet, not real drunk anyway. Just a wake-up shot before he left the house and some drinks with the parents who just left, and he'd go out for drinks later, but for now it wasn't a thing. He was just bored or maybe deeply unhappy, although how could he be that? Although how could that be when he lived in the finest city in the country? New York, baby. Had he mentioned that he lived in New York? Can't go more than 5 minutes without reminding everyone. Train will be here any minute, and when it does, you just push off with the back foot, and then you're flying, and that's the last thing you feel. Being suspended in air, and then a big whoomph, and that's it. Oblivion, no more questions, no more anything. And what a relief that would be, since he slept on a twin-size mattress and hadn't really slept at all in so long, that it would be worth it just for the loss of consciousness. Anhedonia, atheism, the lack of belief, the modern plague, and he being shot through with it so thoroughly it turned him into a bloated and diseased living corpse, ready to burst at the slightest provocation and spray the curious victim with existential anthrax. Look at him now, having put on so much weight after having lost it all and trying to diet, but things in New York just literally tasted better. Did he mention he lived in New York? Did he mention he was about to commit suicide in New York? Oh, what a blessing to die here in the finest city in the country, possibly the world. Headlights. Do or die, V. Do you die? Do you die? Die. Weight oscillating on that back leg, and time now for one last consideration. And what that means is, have we considered the family, Manhattan and Island, but no man being so, who was going to suffer the most from all this? Well, certainly not anyone he'd met in New York, so there wasn't really much of any kind of immediate hazard of secondhand trauma, and the weight shifted just so towards the track. Pop like a balloon, or a crunching, more being worked over by the wheels like teeth on gristle, a mangling more than a coming apart, and which would be worse? The former definitely funnier, and so of course with any luck, it would be a comical explosion of blood and viscera. The parents, the father at this point had lost any sound of care in his voice when they spoke on the phone, obviously considering his precious son to be too far gone. What did he expect when he pushed V to go to the city and make something of himself because that was his birthright? That was where he belonged. Did he really have any right to complain at that point, or was he just dealing with the exact thing he had intended to breed? More questions, as if he needed more questions, as if anyone needed more questions. The entire city being one giant and meaningless question. The mother, mother, mom, the mother, 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 motherfucker. And that's it.
Oh my God, that was awesome. I mean, I guess it's really like kind of wrong to describe like a suicidal, like a stream of consciousness, suicidal ideation piece as awesome. But as someone who like has been there, like you capture it so perfectly, like the weird, like way that your brain skips around when you're thinking about suicide, like the way that you go from like obsessing over the details of how you're going to do it and how it's going to look to bystanders. And then like the really banal stuff that pops into your head and the moments when you're suddenly back in your childhood for no reason, like that sensation, that weird, like incoherent, like trance, like state that like precedes like the choice about whether or not you're actually going to do it this time. I know you just captured it perfectly. That was wonderful.
Thank you. I don't know what to say.
And I'm really, you'll have to, you said the novella is coming out soon?
Yeah, Amphetamine Sulfate, 2021. It's their, I guess their 33rd book.
Oh shit.
The first of the year.
Hit me up when it comes out and I'll be sure to, like when they announce that it's opening for purchase, you know, and I'll be sure to signal boost that.
Awesome, thanks.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. Okay, I am I am not going to take the risk of doing the does anyone else want to read? No? Okay. thing again, because I have a feeling it could become cyclical, and I've almost closed this thing like 6 times now. So thank you everyone for reading, and thank you everyone who's read this year. This has been fucking fantastic.
You can avoid it for now, William, but the next, you know what I mean? It's getting read, so you know what?
Yeah, no, I mean there's always next year, right? There's always next year. But this has been amazing. Doing this, I mean, just a fucking year ago, I think that like as an artist, I felt very lonely, like profoundly lonely, and I didn't feel like Misery Tourism was really going anywhere. It was just kind of me and Rudy toiling in the dark, making our weird shit. And this year has been incredible. I mean, I really feel like I'm part of a larger community of artists now, and I've really loved doing these readings, being able to provide a home for all the work that we've provided a home for on Misery Tourism. It's just as shitty as 2020 has been, and it's been pretty shitty for me too. Like, you know, I've lost people close to me and so on and so forth, but everything surrounding these readings and surrounding the kind of community that that has sprung up here has been like the one, the cliche is what, the one light in the darkness, but the one like legitimate fucking bright spot in all of this. So thank you everyone for coming. Thank you everyone for reading. If you're watching this at home, You fuck everyone fucking out. If you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, we do this every Friday night, except next Friday because it's fucking Christmas. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Find us on Twitter, join one of these things, read your work. Thanks so much, everyone.